Again, these graphs can be quite difficult to deal with. Looking at it though, I know it's parametric. Eliminating the parameter is probably not going to be helpful, but you could try to do it. It just looks like it's not going to be helpful to eliminate it. In other words, I'm not going to recognize that graph from what basic graphs you're looking for, circles, ellipses, things like that. So one thing I'd recommend you just look at, I'm going to say t could be any real number. And then I'd look at the x. What's x going to equal to? T squared minus 4. And looking at it, I know x now, just looking at this thing, the x has got to be greater than minus 4. It could be minus 4 though. So if I were looking at a multiple exam, I'd be looking for those graphs where I'm seeing the x's are minus 4 forward. And I would just simply cross the ones off that are not minus 4 forward. All right? Let me look at the y though. Y is a little more difficult. What's that going to be? I'll write down for you. It's going to be, let's see, it's 8t minus t squared. So I'm going to pull out a t. And what are you going to get there? Let's see, you get 8 minus t squared. Well, if I were looking at that, I start to realize this really isn't that helpful to me, other than the fact that I know y could be any real number now. All right, so what I go for next is, I would look at a graph where it appears the y's are covering everything. But I want to point out we have a graph over here. I'm looking at that, and I clearly see that behavior. The x's are minus 4 and above, and the y, it appears that, at least if you imagine this thing going on forever, the y's are going off in both directions. The other thing I'd be looking for is, I'd be looking for the zeros in the problem. All right, so when does x become 0? Right, when does that happen? At what t values? Well, you're looking at it, I'm going to say it happens, well, looking at it, when would x be equal to 0? It's when t squared minus 4 equals 0. All right? So when does that happen? When t equals plus or minus 2. So let me write this down for you. T equals 2. Again, I'm looking for zeros. When t equals 2, x equals 0. What does y equal? I want to claim it's probably easier to put it over here. Right? Let's take a look at that. So if t is 2, well, I'd get 8 minus 4, which is 4, and 4 times 2, which is 8. Oops. I want to point out, I see that point right here. Again, multiple choice exam, I'd be looking for that, right? I would take t to be minus 2. Again, the x would be 0. Again, you're plugging it over here, relatively simple. You get minus 8. All right, I'm going to look for where y is 0. More difficult. When is y equal to 0? Oops, I didn't mean to do that. When is y equal to 0? All right, let's write that down. It's when t equals 0, or, again, I want to point out we're looking at this thing over here, or when t equals plus or minus the square root of 8. All right, that's a nasty number, but nonetheless, it's not that bad to do. So let's write this down. So when t equals 0, y would be 0. All right, what's the x going to be? Minus 4. Where's that point? Right here. All right, how about the plus or minus 8? Well, let's write that down. The y would be 0. What's the x going to be? Well, let's plug it in. You're going to get 8 minus, 8 minus 4. Let me write that down for you. That's going to be 4. All right, let's see if we got the number. Yeah, we do. It's right over here. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 characteristic points, and we got a range and domain of the problem. All right, again, multiple exams, it's helpful. It really is helpful. Thank you.